Flight began over 100 years ago. The technology and aircraft design have, of course, changed a considerable amount since. Let's take a look at the key moments and events in the development of the airplane. While there were unpowered forms of flight such as gliders in the 1800s, let's begin our video in 1903 when the first successful powered flights took place. Wilbur and Orville Wright flew the first powered airplane on December 17, 1903 near Kitty Hawk in North Carolina. This was recorded as the first sustainable and controlled heavier than air powered flight. For this first attempt, the aircraft flew 37 meters and stayed airborne for just 12 seconds. By 1905, their third aircraft, the Wright Flyer 3, was capable of longer controlled flight, with the longest test taking place in 1905, lasting 39 minutes and covering over 38 kilometers. This was made possible with larger fuel tanks and engine coolants. After this successful flight, the brothers disassembled the aircraft to prevent competitors from copying it. It was not until 1908, when the brothers had secured contracts in America and France, that it flew again, this time with a passenger. Other aviators were working on similar designs around the same time. Perhaps the most significant was from the French inventor Louis Blériot. The Blériot 8 airplane, flying in 1908, first introduced the concept of a single stick to control both roll and pitch, with a foot-operated pedal for the rudder. The same concept, of course, has remained with aircraft right up to today. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 led to many companies and governments expediting aircraft design for military purposes. The propeller-based technology developed for previous early aircraft was taken further, producing large aircraft with more speed and range. In terms of aircraft technology, one of the most significant developments came from the German engineer Hugo Junkers. His Junkers J1 aircraft, first flying in 1915, was the first to have an all-metal airframe. This was important for the later development of larger passenger aircraft. The first passenger service started in 1914. In January that year, the St. Petersburg Tampa Airboat Line started its service between St. Petersburg and Tampa in Florida. This 20-minute flight was a significant milestone, forming the state of commercial aviation. After the war, there was a rush of propeller-based aircraft onto the civilian market. This gave rise to a new industry of leisure and sightseeing flights, as well as demonstrations of air shows. The first transatlantic flight took place in 1919, with British aviators John Alcock and Arthur Whitney Brown flying a modified Vickers military aircraft. This followed the offer of a prize of £10,000 from the Daily Mail newspaper in London for the first successful flight from any point in the United States of America, Canada, or Newfoundland, and any point in Great Britain or Ireland. In 72 continuous hours in 1927, Charles Lindbergh won a $25,000 prize for the first solo non-stop crossing of the Atlantic. Meanwhile, Australian Charles Kingsford Smith and crew became the first to cross the Pacific in 1928 and the first to fly around the world in 1929. During the interwar period, many aircraft development aimed at the operation of successful and profitable commercial flights. The first aircraft to achieve this was the Douglas DC-3, launched in 1936. The aircraft has a capacity of just 32 passengers or 14 if equipped with beds. The DC-3 improved on range, speed, and reliability and was able to offer a transcontinental US service with just 3 stops. It was the first profitable passenger aircraft able to operate without any cargo or mail subsidies. In total, over 11,000 were built, and production continued up to 1942. It's certainly a long-lived and well-built aircraft. As of August 2020, there was 172 DC-3 aircraft still in operation, though not in passenger service. jet aircrafts. The next major advance in airplane design was with the introduction of the jet engine. Development work began in 1930s, and the first operational jet aircraft was the German Henke Hill 178 in 1939, and then the Achessimate Me 262, which saw military service in Germany from 1947. And in the US, Boeing introduced the jet-powered B-47 for military use in 1947. The first passenger jet aircraft, though, was the Cleveland Comet, which entered service in 1952. While it marked a significant step forward in aviation, this early jet craft had a number of serious problems. Most notable were issues with its fuselage windows and pressurization. It was not until its fourth iteration, the Comet 4, that the problems were solved and sales increased. By this time, other aircraft designers had learned from its mistake and offered competitive alternatives. There were several successors and competitors to the Comet, including the DC-8, Wicker's VC-10, Tupolev Tu-104, and the Boeing 707. These were all interesting aircraft in their own ways, but the 707 stands out as the most successful. For this jet, Boeing built on its previous military success, using the same Pratt & Whitney turbojet engines as the B-52 Stratofortress. Its original design was intended to serve as a military tanker aircraft. The 707 first flew in December 1957 and remained in production until 1978. 856 of these jets were built and delivered to airlines. While it was not the first commercial jet aircraft, it was the first highly successful one and is often credited as the start of the jet age. It also established Boeing as the dominant civilian aircraft manufacturer. Boeing incorporated many design elements based on customer feedback. These include a wider fuselage, allowing 5 abreast seats and better cargo payload. Moving engines to underwing pods was considered safer in the event of a fire, and changes to flat design as well as fuselage straightening. Following success with the 707 and 727, Boeing designed a new aircraft to beat the competition and win customers. The 737 launched in 1967 and offered several design differences from the competition. They were as follows: 2 engines rather than 3 or 4. These appealed to customers looking to lower costs. Engines mounted under the wings, offering easier access and allowing a wider cabin. A wider fuselage offering 6 abreast seating and handling of standard cargo containers. The Boeing 737 has been the most solid aircraft to date, with 10,580 aircraft delivered across all 337 families according to date from Boeing. As of July 2020, main rival Airbus competes with its A320 family. Since its launch in 1987, Airbus has offered several different sized variants and evolved these to provide technological and efficiency upgrades. It may have started later than Boeing, but it has also seen tremendous success. The A320 family now beats the Boeing 337 in numbers of aircraft ordered. The other significant change since the earliest jet aircraft is the development of large aircrafts. Larger planes. The best example here is the Boeing 747, launched in 1970. The motivation for this came from Pan-African World Airways. The carrier asked Boeing to design an aircraft around 2.5 times the size of the Boeing 707. Development for the jumbo jet began once Pan Am committed to an order of 25 aircraft in April 1966. Such close interaction between one airline and a manufacturer is unusual, and the involvement of Pan Am in the development of the 747 is unmatched. Such a large aircraft required several changes to previous aircraft design, including the addition of a second deck. This was initially planned to be a full deck, but this was not possible due to safety restrictions at the time. The resulting design allowed for a full deck of cargo and nose loading, a significant success factor for the 747, and a new high bypass turbofan engine was needed for the heavier airframe. Pratt & Whitney contributed by designing the JT9D engine, especially for the 747. The 747 was significant not just from a technical point of view, but also from an economic one. It changed travel by allowing airlines to offer lower fares and longer routes. This opened flying to many more passengers and not just the wealthy. The extra available space gave airlines new options for onboard facilities and cabins. These include spacious first-class cabins and lodge areas. From 1970s, the airlines created a premium offering within their economy cabins, and by 1980s, it led to the creation of business class as a third cabin. Aircraft size limit would not be pushed so far again until the development of the Airbus A380. Airbus looked at various versions of a large aircraft, including combining two large fuselages side by side. This ultimately led to the concept of a two-deck aircraft. The A380 was formally announced in 1990 with a target of 15% lower operating cost than the 747. Several other large aircraft were proposed but never built, including the two-deck McDonnell Douglas MD-12, a large subsonic transport from Lockheed Martin, and a 1,000-passenger jet from Russia known as the Sukhoi KR-860. The A380 is a great aircraft but has not seen the same success as the 747. Once its production is complete, it will have had 251 orders. Preference changed though, with many airlines shifting to a point-to-point model rather than hub and spoke operations. Thus, demand grows for more efficient, lower-capacity aircraft. The A380 also carries one significant design limitation in that its size and large wingspan severely limits the airports to which it can operate. This is something that Boeing has learned from, and its new 777X developing folding wingtips to get around this problem. There was another key aspect in the evolution of flight. The sound barrier was first broken in 1947 by the American experimental aircraft Bell X-1. This was powered by a rocket-based engine using liquid oxygen and ethyl alcohol. However, it was not until 1960s that supersonic passenger aircraft were developed, most famously Concorde. Supersonic aircraft required some major changes in aircraft design. Significant extra power was needed to overcome additional drag at high speed, while the wings needed to be redesigned for supersonic speed. The solution reached for Concorde was a delta wing, which is much more efficient at high speed. Concorde was a joint development between the UK and France and was launched in 1976. Only British Airways and Air France ever operated the jet, although 18 airlines placed options for it before backing out. The Russia Tupolev Tu-144 and Boeing 2707 were other attempts at supersonic passenger travel. Unfortunately, neither got as far as Concorde, with the 2707 program being scrapped before it could be produced. Supersonic passenger travel is an exciting development, but it ended with the retirement of Concorde in 2003. The main limitation have been efficiency and cost, but also managing noise created by the sonic boom. This may change soon, with a number of US companies developing supersonic passenger aircraft to be flying by the late 2020s. Many early achievements were significant and much needed. However, they resulted in heavy aircraft, fuel-hungry engines, and high levels of emissions. One of the significant changes to passenger aircraft since 1970s has been the improvement of twin-engine performance and safety. The safety and reliability of engines have increased significantly over the last 3 decades. Now, the Airbus A350, for example, is rated to fly 370 minutes from the diversion airport. This has been a major factor in the incline of 4-engine aircraft as new twin jets have been introduced. There has been a constant effort to improve efficiency. Changes have included more efficient engines, aerodynamic designs updates, and an increasing use of lighter composite materials in aircraft construction. The Boeing 787 is just an excellent example of this, and it's ranked wingtip, composite construction, and efficient engines. Boeing is continuing this trend with the launch of its 777X. Looking further ahead, there are moves to radically change more aircraft are powered. Options currently being explored and developed include battery technology and hydrogen power. Both of these technologies have seen smaller prototype development but are a long way from adoption in small aircraft design. And as we move forward, high technology and pushing the capabilities of aircraft have not been forgotten. Boom Supersonic's Overture aircraft would carry passengers as soon as 2025. Meanwhile, in the short term, missions such as Qantas Project Sunrise are pushing the limits of ultra-long distance flight. There are so many events, development, and aircraft involved in the evolution of air travel. This video has looked at just some of the most significant. Is there anything else you think is important to mention in the evolution of flight? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching and be sure to like and subscribe.